15 completions, 17 attempts, 5 touchdowns. I want you to stop and actually let those numbers land before we go any further, because what Shedeur Sanders just did in that Cleveland practice facility didn't just win a practice session, it effectively ended a quarterback competition that the organization had spent months carefully framing as genuinely open. The veteran, with $46 million on his contract, went quiet. The third-round pick, who was supposed to complicate things, went quiet. And the people inside that building, who had been watching every rep, every film session, every small moment that accumulates into a real evaluation, they stopped pretending the conversation was still ongoing. What happened on that practice field, and what happened at the podium immediately afterward, tells you everything about where this organization already is internally. So, let's break down the full picture. The performance, the front office language, and the organizational direction that all of these signals are pointing toward simultaneously. Start with Andrew Berry at the podium, because most people hear an NFL press conference and process it as background noise, careful talking points, professional diplomacy designed to protect everyone and reveal nothing. That reading costs you the real story every single time. Front office executives do not speak by accident. Every word is considered. Every sentence serves a specific purpose. The praise they give is intentional. The praise they withhold is equally intentional. And when you listen carefully to how Berry talked about Shedeur Sanders compared to every other quarterback in that room, what you hear is not a general manager managing a genuine open competition. It is a general manager deliberately communicating where his organization already sits internally, while maintaining the professional language that protects the process publicly. The contrast in tone was not subtle. It was not a minor stylistic difference in how Berry addressed different players. It was a gap. When Shedeur's name came up, the energy in Berry's answers shifted noticeably. This was not "we'll see what develops" language. This was not vague developmental optimism attached to every young player, regardless of actual trajectory. Berry sounded confident, specific, comfortable in the way that front office executives only get specific about players they have already made internal decisions about. He talked about improvements in decision-making, about pocket management developing in the right direction, about ball security becoming more reliable, about situational awareness sharpening. Real areas that translate directly to Sunday performance. And then came the word that changed the temperature of the entire press conference for anyone paying close enough attention: command. Berry said he expects Shedeur to have more command of the offense heading into this season. I need you to understand what that word means in this context, because it is not incidental phrasing. Command is not a word organizations use for backups they are still evaluating. It is not a word used for players in genuine open competition where the outcome is truly uncertain. Command is franchise quarterback language. It is the word you use for the player the locker room is beginning to follow, for the player the system is being designed around, for the player you have already decided is your guy even before the formal announcement has been made publicly. Once a front office uses that word in a press conference setting, everyone inside that building hears exactly what it means. The competition is not over officially, but everybody who matters already knows. Now look at what happened when reporters handed Berry the perfect setup to defend Deshaun Watson. They practically offered him an easy lifeline. The question was framed to invite Berry to acknowledge Watson's years of experience, his Pro Bowl appearances, his history of operating at an elite level in this league as a genuine competitive advantage. Most general managers in that situation take that lifeline immediately. It is easy, safe, and protects the locker room dynamic by showing respect for the veteran without committing to anything specific about the starting job. Berry did not take it. He flatly declined to position Watson's experience as an actual competitive edge over Shedeur. He said experience helps as a general attribute, but does not give any specific player an automatic advantage. Read what that actually means when it comes from the general manager of the organization that paid Watson $230 million fully guaranteed and surrendered 3 first-round picks to acquire him. It means they have stopped pretending that the investment requires a starting position. It means the financial commitment and the depth chart decision have been fully separated in the internal organizational thinking. It means Watson's resume, his Pro Bowls, his big game experience, everything his career represents at its peak, does not buy him a single snap over a second-year quarterback with 7 starts. That is not a neutral diplomatic answer. That is a door being closed, professionally, calmly, without drama, but definitively closed. The way Barry talked about Tylen Green completed the picture from the third angle and made the whole organizational hierarchy impossible to misread. Green got developmental language, patient, step-by-step, learn first, grow gradually, no rush. That is completely appropriate for a 6th-round rookie who needs significant time before his physical tools translate into consistent professional execution. But the analytical point lives in the comparison. 3 quarterbacks in one press conference. One got command language and specific praise about real growth in real areas. One got polite acknowledgement that his resume exists, without any energy behind it. One got slow development talk with 0 competitive urgency attached. That is not equal treatment of 3 players in a genuinely open competition. That is a front office communicating the internal organizational structure through the deliberate architecture of how it chooses to discuss each player. The public language maintains the competition. The word choices communicate the conclusion. Barry also confirmed something that carries more weight than most coverage has acknowledged. The reps will not be equal. This is not a clean daily split where every quarterback gets identical opportunities and the best performance across equal chances wins the job. Performance drives the rep distribution. Players who demonstrate they can handle more get more. And that framework, combined with everything else Barry communicated about how he views each quarterback, tells you which direction the unequal distribution is already pointing. When a GM says reps follow performance and then describes one quarterback with command language and another with bare minimum acknowledgement, the 2 statements together are not ambiguous. They are a roadmap. Now let me come back to what happened on the practice field, because the press conference analysis only makes full sense in the context of the actual performance generating the organizational confidence behind it. 15 completions on 17 attempts, 5 touchdowns. That is not a coincidence or a hot day that happened to produce good numbers. That is the product of an off-season spent in that building doing specific preparation work that shows up in specific numbers when the evaluation moment arrives. The completion rate tells you the decisions were being made correctly and the ball was being placed accurately. The touchdown number tells you the offense was being operated with genuine aggression and conviction rather than conservative management designed to avoid mistakes. And the 17-attempt context tells you the volume was real. This was not cherry-picked efficiency from a small sample that happened to break right. It was sustained performance across genuine competitive reps. The reaction from the people who had been loudest tells its own story. When critics go quiet, it is not because they ran out of arguments. It is because the arguments they had been making stopped being sustainable against the evidence being generated on the field. The narrative around Shedeur's limitations, the questions about his arm, about his ability to command a professional offense, about whether his rookie season was a product of fortunate moments on a bad team, all of it requires a specific reading of his ability that 15 for 17 with 5 touchdowns directly contradicts. You cannot maintain the limitation narrative while simultaneously explaining away results that disprove it. Eventually, the evidence accumulates past the point where the explanation stays plausible. Cleveland is at that point right now, and quiet from critics in the wake of undeniable performance is its own kind of verdict. Here is the broader organizational picture that everything fits into when you zoom out far enough to see it clearly. The Spencer Fano pick at 9th overall was not a generic offensive line investment. It was a franchise-level commitment to protecting a specific quarterback who had spent his entire rookie season operating behind one of the most inadequate protective units in the conference. The receiver additions, Conception's route-running precision, Boston's contested catchability in the red zone, were not generic weapons acquisitions. They were pieces selected to complement the specific strengths of a quarterback who processes quickly, throws with accuracy into tight windows, and needs receivers who can consistently create clean opportunities rather than forcing him to manufacture completions through pure arm strength against closing coverage. Every draft pick, every free agency decision, every roster construction choice made this offseason connects back to the same internal organizational conviction that has been building for months. Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback this offense is being designed around. The press conference was not a separate story from the draft, or the receiver acquisitions, or the coaching philosophy. It was the next chapter in the same organizational narrative being written with consistent intention from multiple directions simultaneously. What makes this moment genuinely different from the cycles of Cleveland quarterback optimism that came before? And I want to be honest about this because Browns fans deserve honesty about the difference between real momentum and manufactured hope is the specificity of the commitment. Previous cycles were built on potential and press conference enthusiasm and the willingness to believe a promising player would develop into what the organization needed without building the specific structural conditions that make development actually possible. This cycle is built differently. The protection is being constructed. The weapons are being selected with the quarterback's actual strengths in mind. The coaching philosophy is aligned behind honest evaluation rather than prior financial commitments. The rep distribution is following performance rather than politics, and the general manager's language is reflecting internal conviction rather than protecting organizational investment. The announcement has not been made officially. The depth chart has not been formally published. The press conference where the words get said directly has not happened yet. But the practice field has already made the announcement that matters. Quietly, specifically, convincingly, one completed pass at a time. Cleveland has their quarterback. The question was never really if. The question was always when. And when is getting closer every single day that Shedeur Sanders walks onto that practice field and keeps making it impossible for anyone inside that building to act like the conversation is still genuinely ongoing. The era is not coming. It is already here. The Browns just haven't said it out loud yet.